Different bodies, different minds, incredible passion and a touch of magic in their eyes. They move silently, often ignored by society, but they paint our realities. They move us, they inspire us, they brighten our days if we just acknowledge them. They are the differently abled. Let's celebrate their lives and listen to their stories.
This is part of our podcast series focusing on the differently abled and the experiences that both they and the people that they are in their lives have growing up with these disabilities. Today I'm chatting to Sarah Scholl, and her son has Down syndrome. So we're going to be discussing Down syndrome in this short podcast. How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
We know we're doing this amazing series for the Orion organization out in Atlantis, and they have some Down syndrome patients, and it's a very specific challenge, and also it's not just a challenge, but it's also a enlightening experience. As you said it yourself, it's a journey. So take us through, before we talk about your experiences with your son Oliver, let's talk about Down syndrome itself. What is Down syndrome?
Well, Down syndrome is a third copy of the 21st chromosome. So and this affects just different aspects of the development of a child or a baby who has this condition.
And what are those effects?
And those would include learning disabilities. Some facial features would be more of an almond-shaped eyes, and sometimes they would say a floppy physical, I don't know how to say this, a floppy physical appearance.
No, that's understandable. And then how are tests done to discover if a child has it or not?
The way they need to do that is through a genetic test. So they take a blood sample and they're able to send it to a laboratory and then find that third chromosome.
And how did you find out with Oliver?
I actually found out at birth, and that was a complete surprise for us. In the States, we do the quad 4 testing, and we also do the ultrasound at 20 weeks. I believe in South Africa you do it a few more times throughout the pregnancy, but we only have one at the 20-week mark. And I had turned down the quad screen testing because I had 2 typical pregnancies with no problems, and sometimes the false positives cause a lot more anxiety than the results that are provided. So I turned those ones down, but I did have the ultrasound, and everything turned out normal within the ultrasound. So it was not picked up until he was born.
I want to know, what's your day-to-day living experience with someone with Down syndrome?
You know, it's surprisingly normal. I think if you would have told me, my son is 8 years old now, if you would have told me a decade ago that I would have a child with Down syndrome, I think I would panic and think, well, how am I going to live life? And in fact, we've lived overseas, both in Zambia and here in South Africa, with no problem at all. And I've been just amazed at how the community has welcomed us and my child into our lives. So he is very much a part of our family. He shares our humor. He's able to communicate, although his language is delayed.
And I also understand that for most Down syndrome people, they reach a IQ level of around 50 to 60, and then they stay at that level. And for those who don't know, that equates to about the intelligence of an 8 or 9-year-old for
Yes,
the rest of their life.
Yes.
So as he gets older, he will need to be taken care of. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, it really depends. There's a spectrum of ability. So some people really need full-time care and even struggle to do just basic day-to-day chores and self-care. Then there's others who do live independently, who get married, and a lot of them, in the States at least, will live in a group home setting where there is some sort of supervision to help make sure everything gets done. But they're able to hold down jobs and be productive members of society.
Sarah, thank you so much for your time today and explaining your situation.
Yes, my pleasure.
Orion Organization, creating futures for people with disabilities through the provision of professional, therapeutic, and development services. You can go to their website, orionorganization.org, or you can find them on Facebook and Twitter.